Have you ever been insulted by someone, and their words just kept playing in your mind all day long? Even when you tried to forget, it lingered like a thorn, buried deep in your thoughts, weighing heavy on your heart. Maybe it was a family member, a coworker, or even a stranger online. They didn't leave a bruise, but somehow, they hurt you in a way no one else could see. And the most dangerous part? We're the ones who keep reliving that pain every time we replay it, retell it, or react to it again. But what if I told you, you could learn to not react, not from weakness but from a place of deep inner power? Today I want to share a story with you, not just to remember but to live by. It's the story of the Buddha, who once faced a man filled with hate, and how he responded might just change how you deal with toxic people in your own life. So let's begin this journey, one that will teach you how to protect your peace, no matter who tries to take it away. There's a kind of power no one can ever take from you, if you know how to protect it. That power is inner peace. We've all been there. You're having a perfectly fine day and then someone throws a harsh comment your way. No yelling needed. Just one sentence and suddenly, something stings in your heart. You start wondering, do I deserve that? Did I mess up? Or worse, I need to fight back. Reacting feels natural. But have you ever noticed, it rarely makes us feel better. In fact, it often makes us feel worse. You see, when someone tries to hurt you, it's not just about winning an argument. What they really want is your reaction, your emotions, your control. And if they get it, they win far more than the fight. But what if you didn't react the way they expected? What if you simply smiled and kept your peace as if their words never touched you? I once saw a friend do that. She was harshly scolded by her boss in front of the whole team. But instead of snapping back or shrinking down, she took a breath, looked him in the eyes and gently said, "I understand you're under a lot of pressure. I'll look into it. Thank you for sharing." No one expected that response. No anger, no retreat. Just calm, like a mirror that doesn't reflect the fire, but absorbs it with light. She didn't win the argument, but she won something far more important: freedom from the anger and control over herself. And that is exactly what the Buddha taught. Let's now hear his story about the day he was insulted and how he responded in a way that silenced even hate itself. More than 2,600 years ago, there lived a remarkable man. Not because he was a king or had any worldly power, but because he discovered how to remain untouched by the world's pain. That man was the Buddha. And this is one of the most profound stories ever told about how he faced negativity. One day, while the Buddha was teaching, a furious man stormed in. He began yelling, insulting, hurling abuse, pouring out all the anger he carried within. But the Buddha said nothing. He just sat there, smiling gently, eyes full of compassion. No anger, no judgment, no reaction. The man grew even angrier, frustrated by the silence. And finally, exhausted by his own rage, he stopped. Then the Buddha softly asked, "If someone comes to your home and offers you a gift, but you refuse to accept it, who does the gift belong to?" The man was puzzled. "Well, to the one who brought it, of course." The Buddha smiled. "Exactly. So the harsh words you brought today, I do not accept. They still belong to you." In that moment, anger turned to silence. The man sat down. He listened. And when he left, he was no longer the same person. A gentle lesson. Reaction is a choice. You can't control what others throw at you, but you can choose whether to hold it or let it go. Just like a gift, words are only an offer. You have the right to refuse. And when you do, you take back the power over your own mind. Coming up next, we'll explore why toxic people crave your reaction and how you can protect your peace instead of falling into their storm. Toxic people don't actually want logic. What they really want is your reaction. Often they're not looking for answers. They're fishing for your emotions, anger, pain, defensiveness, confusion. They cast the bait, just waiting for you to bite. And the moment you snap, cry, argue, or spiral down, they feel like they've won. Have you ever noticed that? A real-life example. I once watched a friend being attacked online. She had simply shared her personal opinion, but within hours, hundreds of hateful comments poured in. At first, she wanted to respond to every one of them. But then, she paused and posted just one line. "I don't need you to agree with me, and I don't need you to be angry about it either." That was it. No fight, no defense, no drama. And the storm? It passed on its own. A vital truth. When you react with anger, you're giving them exactly what they want. Like the Buddhist said, if you accept the toxic meal they serve, you're choosing to dine with them. So why sit at that table? A gentle lesson. True strength doesn't come from clapping back. It comes from choosing what's worthy of your energy. Next time someone tries to pull you into their chaos, remember, not reacting isn't weakness. It's the wisdom of someone who knows how to protect their peace. In the next part, we'll break down the 3 most common types of toxic people, so you'll know exactly who you're dealing with and how to respond with clarity and grace. Not everyone who hurts you is a bad person, but there are certain types of people who, if you don't recognize them early, can quietly drain your energy. We call them toxic people, and they're not all the same. Here are the 3 most common types of toxic people and how to spot them in everyday life. 1. The constant critic. They're never satisfied. They always see what's wrong, with you, with others, with the world. You could score 99 out of 100 and they'll zoom in on that one missing point. The danger is, they make you doubt yourself even when you've done nothing wrong. Real life example. A mother constantly says to her daughter, "Why can't you be like so-and-so's child?" Over time, the girl begins to believe she's not good enough, even when she's doing her best. Gentle lesson. Don't waste your peace trying to please someone who's only looking for flaws. Please your inner calm instead. 2. The emotional manipulator. They don't shout, but they make you feel guilty every time you do something they don't like. They use phrases like, "If you really loved me, you wouldn't do that." They make you feel responsible for their emotions, when they should be owning them themselves. Real life example. A friend always invites you out when you need rest. If you decline, they sigh and say, "Wow, some friend you are." Gentle lesson. No one has the right to guilt trip you into compliance. True love doesn't manipulate, it respects boundaries. 3. The victim player. No matter what happens, they're always the one who's hurt. They never take responsibility, only blame others while using pity as a weapon. Being around them is exhausting because you're constantly carrying their emotions and problems. Real life example. A coworker always says, "I work so hard and nobody cares." Yet they reject help and consistently miss deadlines. Gentle lesson. You can listen with compassion, but you don't have to carry someone else's load. Loving others should never mean abandoning yourself. In short, recognizing who's draining your energy is the first step to protecting your peace. In the next part, we'll learn when to walk away and when to speak up. Because sometimes compassion doesn't mean staying silent. There's something many of us get wrong. We think silence is compassion. We believe endurance means forgiveness. But the truth is, forgiveness doesn't mean allowing someone to keep hurting you. Being kind to others doesn't mean abandoning yourself. When should you walk away? When the person repeats the same hurtful behavior, even after you've voiced your feelings. When being around them makes you feel like you're losing yourself. When their presence not only drains you, but makes you doubt your worth. Real life example. A woman stayed quiet every time her husband yelled. She told herself it was for the family. Until one day her young son began yelling at his sister the same way. That's when she realized, silence can be a form of permission. Walking away isn't about hate. It's about loving your peace more than your pain. When should you speak up? When the other person may not realize they're being hurtful. When there's still love and a chance to build a healthier connection. But remember, speaking up isn't shouting. It isn't trying to win. It's about setting boundaries with calm clarity. Real life example. A young employee was humiliated by her boss during a meeting. Afterward, she calmly approached and said, "I've always respected you. I believe personal feedback is best shared privately, so we can grow without hurting one another in front of others. No drama, no insults, but powerful enough to spark reflection. A gentle lesson. Real love and compassion don't make you smaller. They help you stand taller, clearer, and braver." Up next, we'll explore how to train yourself with the Buddha's shield, the smile, the stillness, and the inner wisdom. So next time you meet someone toxic, you're no longer the victim, but the one holding the light within. Have you ever noticed? When you smile at someone who's angry, not to provoke, not to fake it, but with genuine calm, they often begin to lose their power over you. That's not weakness. It's a deep strength, the kind that comes from self-mastery. The Buddha wore no armor, but he had an invisible shield that protected him from hatred, harsh words, and ignorance. You can train that shield too. It's built from 3 simple yet powerful elements. 1. The smile, a signal of inner steadiness. Not a forced grin, but a smile that says, "I don't need to react because I know who I am." Example. A friend of mine was unfairly scolded by a customer. He calmly said, "I'm sorry if that caused any trouble. I'll look into it." And he smiled. Not to please, but to keep himself from being pulled into someone else's storm. 2. The stillness, not hiding, but consciously holding space. When others raise their voices, the strongest thing you can do is remain intentionally quiet. Not because you're out of words, but because you choose not to let your emotions write your response. Example. In a tense meeting, instead of reacting immediately, take a deep breath, hold silence for a few seconds, and let them hear their own noise. 3. Self-inquiry. Ask before you react. Before replying to anything that stings, ask yourself, is there any truth in what they said? Am I reacting or responding? Do I want to act from instinct or from wisdom? Gentle lesson. The space between emotion and action is where wisdom is born. Practicing these 3, smile, stillness, and inquiry, is how you build your inner shield a little more each day. And up next, we'll explore how to train before the test with a powerful technique, visualization. So when the real situation comes, you're not surprised, you're prepared. Did you know that almost every professional athlete shares a secret training tool? Not just practice on the field, but practice in the mind. They call it visualization. A tennis player before a big match will close their eyes and imagine every serve, every footstep, every reaction. Because they know the brain doesn't strongly distinguish between imagination and real experience. So how does this help you, someone learning to deal with toxic people? A lot. If you visualize the situation ahead of time, imagine someone yelling at you, criticizing you, trying to trigger you, and you see yourself staying calm, smiling gently, responding with clarity. Then when it actually happens, you're no longer caught off guard. You've already practiced. Real-life example. A teacher once shared that every night before bed, she would spend 5 minutes imagining how to respond to a rude student. She saw herself not yelling, not snapping, but gently asking, "What made you feel the need to act this way?" When the situation happened in real life, she kept her cool, something she hadn't been able to do before. A gentle lesson. The mind is like a warrior, but if it's not trained before the battle, it trembles in the storm. Visualization isn't about pretending, it's about preparing. It gives you a stronger stance, a clearer mind, and the power to choose your response, rather than react by reflex. And in the next part, we'll arrive at our final, but perhaps most powerful, lesson. Not every battle is won with words. Some victories come from silence, and the light you keep alive within. Some conversations aren't about truth, they're about taking sides. And the more you try to explain, the deeper you get pulled into a battle where no one truly wins. In those moments, remember, not every argument needs to be won. Why? Because angry people don't listen to understand, they listen to respond. And when you get angry too, you're no longer speaking from wisdom, you're just mirroring their rage. Real life example. A man once shared that every time he argued with his girlfriend, he tried to be logical. But the more he spoke, the more she cried. They both walked away exhausted, not because someone was wrong, but because neither felt heard. Eventually, he changed his approach. Instead of trying to win, he simply asked, "What are you feeling most right now?" And just like that, the fire softened. A gentle lesson. You can be right, but if both hearts are hurting, no one really wins. Sometimes victory doesn't come from arguments, but from wise silence and the strength to pause. Let your success, your calm, your growth, your peace, be the loudest response to every harsh word. And now we'll move to the final part of this journey. Compassion doesn't begin with others. It begins with you and how you choose to protect the peace within. We often think self-love means going to the spa, buying what we like, or treating ourselves to a quiet coffee. Those things are wonderful, but they're not the whole picture. True self-love is when you protect your heart from what hurts it. It's when you say no to conversations that drain you. It's when you choose peace over the need to prove your worth. Why does this matter? Because if you don't love yourself enough, others will define your value. You'll stay in toxic relationships, thinking you have to endure. You'll trade your peace just to be accepted. Real life example. A man once shared that he did everything to please his boss, took extra work, skipped lunch, stayed quiet when blamed unfairly. Then one day his daughter asked him, "Dad, are you happy at work?" And he had no answer. That day he took a week off, not to rebel but to remember who he was. A gentle lesson. You don't need anyone's permission to protect your peace. You just need to love yourself enough to know. Not everyone who enters your life deserves to stay. Not every emotion deserves your reaction. In our final chapter, we'll look back at everything we've learned and remind ourselves, your silence, your steadiness, your inner light, those are the most powerful answers of all. When someone is angry, our instinct is to fight fire with fire. Anger spreads like flames, it burns and tries to pull everything into its heat. But you don't have to be the fire. You can choose to be the mirror. A mirror doesn't burn, it reflects. It doesn't react emotionally, it simply holds its presence. Why is this powerful? Because people who are angry don't need more flames, they need a quiet space where they can see themselves. You don't have to overpower someone to be strong. You just have to stand firm and choose not to become what you don't believe in. The world doesn't need more fire. It needs more mirrors, clear enough for others to see their reflection and soft enough not to hurt. Hold your inner peace like a lamp, one that doesn't wait for others to light it and doesn't flicker at every breeze. And if this journey spoke to your heart, share it with someone who might be hurting from toxic people in their life. Because maybe your quiet light is exactly what they need most today. If you've made it to the end of this journey, I believe there's a quiet light within you, soft but steady. If this video touched something in your heart, leave a comment with just one simple sentence. I choose peace. Because sometimes a few simple words can help someone feel a little less alone. And if you know someone who's been hurting from the pain others caused, share this video with them. You never know. Your small act of kindness might be the spark of peace they need most today.